Hey everyone, John Lorden here. Happy Monday and welcome to another episode of Johnny Vlogs. Today we're going to be talking about Searchlight and selling out. Does that tickle your brain a bit? I think we're going to have a real interesting conversation. Before we get into that, I have to thank so many new patrons. Basically, because last week I didn't go through the list, I have now stacked up a whole lot of people. So we're going to get through this as quickly as possible. But please know how much I appreciate each and every one of you out there that is currently contributing on Patreon or through PayPal. Let's start with PayPal, starting with James Reed. I don't know if I mentioned it. He made his donation a few weeks ago, so I just wanted to make sure it was in there. Thank you, James. Melissa Blake and Jerry Leaf also made donations through PayPal to john@lordenarts.com. Thank you all so much. For patrons, Lisa Petznick, Lene Hebsgard, Electrified Owl, Beth Fair, Jill Williams, Aaron Reeves, Zach Bowman, Thad Jacobson, Amber Loves Mystery, hey Amber, Amika Tariq, Adam Marsland, Tara Cox, and Heather Relander. Oh, and one more, Sisette. All new pledges on Patreon. I can't do it without you guys. Thank you so much. On top of that, we have Ruby Hoffling, Yolanda Marino Diaz, Tara Cox, and William Fuller that increased their pledges. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. So what are we talking about today? Well, first of all, Searchlight. This is going to be a week of kind of different programming because I have so much Searchlight information to cover. I've got more information on cases that we've covered in the past few weeks that I want to share with you guys this week. We have a development in a case that I covered previously that I have to share with you guys this week as well. And we still have that promise that I made where I want to feature a brand new case every single week this year. How am I going to do that? How am I going to get these 4 episodes in? And one of those episodes is probably going to be pretty lengthy. I'm going to have to kind of mash up the schedule this week. So we're having Johnny Vlogs today. Obviously, I'm here. You guys are here. Thank you for being here. Tomorrow, instead of Case Cracked, we're going to do a Searchlight update, which is kind of normal. But we have so much to cover that Wednesday is also going to be more Searchlight updates. But wait, John, what about your promise of a new case? That's going to slide to Thursday in place of Itchy Mysteries for this week. And then we'll have a regular Brain Scratch on Friday. So middle of this week is going to be Searchlight heavy, but I've got a lot of interesting information on cases we've covered previously. I have to get it out. I need you guys to look at it. I need you guys to think about it, share it with your friends, and see if we can elicit some new tips to come in on these cases. So that is the plan for this week. Now, what about selling out? What's this aspect of selling out? I wanted to share a little story with you guys about a private investigator and another private investigator. So the first one is Sheila Wysocki, who I've been talking about a lot last week. I sat next to her at CrimeCon, went to a special private investigator breakout session that she was hosting, was very impressed by the information that was presented there. And of course, on Brain Scratch last week, I featured that case as well. I want to tell you guys about an interesting moment that happened when I was sitting at my table with Danielle and Sheila was to my left. A woman from a production company was coming around, and it was, in terms of timing, it was really interesting because Danielle and I were literally just talking about what would you do if a production company approached you. I've kind of talked about this on the channel a little bit. I struggle with the thought of it because my production schedule right now for doing my videos for all of you keeps me extremely busy. And how would I work in some type of other project for, a cable channel or something like that? I really don't know. Kind of ultimately what panned out for me was the thought of if I could keep it confined to a shorter project of some kind, and I was really confident that it was going to help that case in some significant way, I don't know how I could say no to that. If it was going to give me a team of researchers or, resources for hiring some private investigators, if it was going to give me the tools to really help one of these families in need that we're talking about on this channel all the time, I think I would find a way to make that work, even if that was me telling you guys, hey, you know, I need to take a week or 2 weeks off to do this kind of special project, and then I'll be back. I don't know if I could take off much more time than that from you guys, because I would feel really bad about that. These opportunities would only arise because of you guys. So I really don't want to risk that relationship that you and I have in terms of how this channel works and what makes it successful. So we were literally just having that conversation, and all of a sudden I'm kind of eavesdropping a little. You know, Sheila's sitting right next to me, and I hear a production person from a company speaking to Sheila and basically saying, you know, we're here, we produce for a couple of major cable channels, and we're scouting for talent, and we wanted to come and talk to you and see if you were interested in possibly working with us in some way and developing a show. And it was kind of cool, and Danielle and I were both extremely impressed. We literally like looked at each other and our eyes got big. Sheila didn't even flinch, didn't even blink, and just came right out with, I'm sorry, I really can't do that because I am so dedicated to these cases that I'm working and these families that is where my time goes. That is where my focus is. I mean, just not even a flinch, not even a consideration. And it really lifted my heart a little bit to hear someone answer like that, and really in a way where, how can you not respect that? You know, this woman really appreciates the work that she's doing, but more than that, it's about helping the people, and she wants to keep herself helping the people as much as possible that she's working with. And I was happy that we had just had that conversation, because literally after the production company was done talking to her, they came right over to our table and then started talking to us. And I was kind of prepared with my statement to them, which was basically what I told you guys. If the resources were there to move a significant case forward, and if I could keep it to a confined amount of time so that I don't have to risk the viewers of my channel, yeah, I could possibly work something like that out, but we would have to make sure that it was in the best interest of the families of the case, basically. So that's where I left it. You know, they did give me a card. They gave me some contact information. I've got a couple of ideas kicking around in my head about particular cases. It would be nice to have more resources on to see if we could shake something loose. I might reach out to some of those families. I've already reached out to one in particular to just kind of feel around the topic to see if they would be interested. But I don't know. It's weird because I don't want to upset the apple cart, so to speak. I really want to make sure that it is the right thing, the right resources would be there, and that it's something where we could really help, not just doing the same thing that I do here on the channel. I don't know what the benefit of, you know, moving that to a cable network would be, when here on the channel it's free information, it's accessible internationally. So I don't know. Those are my considerations on stuff like that. So is that really selling out or not? I don't know. I wanted to run it by you guys and get your opinion on that also. So please tell me in the comments below. Do you think my current approach with that type of project is right? Do you think it's crazy? Do you think I should stick solely to YouTube, try to grow the channel to where I can make those resources happen myself? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, on top of that, I mentioned that there was 2 private investigators I was going to talk about in today's Johnny Vlogs. The other one has been a bit controversial on this channel, Philip Klein. And he just came up, of course, when we were talking about the case of Michael Chambers. Klein Investigations is working that case as well. If you've watched the channel for a long time, you know that Philip and I have a little bit of an interesting history. I just wanted to kind of recap it with you guys because I know there's a lot of newer viewers that might not know about this, but I covered a few cases that Philip had been assigned to, and in those videos, I was pretty critical in some places of Philip's public persona in particular. He's a guy that doesn't shy away from the media. Quite honestly, I think using the media could be a very good tool in some of these investigations, but it kind of left me with a strange feeling about what was really his focus. You know, was he spending more time chasing the media than he was working on his cases? And I was vocal about that in my videos. Philip actually reached out to me, and the conversation was not an easy conversation, let me just say. It was charged on his end, and I replied in a way that I thought was, you know, equally charged, but trying to get a better understanding of each other. And we kind of talked through our sticking points with each other. You know, I told him what I thought about the public persona issues. He told me what he thought about how I was making his investigations company seem inadequate. And, you know, some of the other members of the company were kind of upset about it. We kind of hashed through that. And then we got to talking about another case that we were both covering. And he opened up a bit about that case and about the information that he had. And I was getting information from other sources that I kind of wanted to bounce off someone that I knew was closer to the case. So I was asking him many, many questions about the case. He answered all the questions, gave me a lot more detail, and it gave me a bit of insight into the quality of their investigative work, which my opinion now is I see Philip Klein as almost two different components. I see the public persona, which love him or hate him, that's the guy. That is who he is. I really doubt that anyone out there is going to change him. And then I see the investigative component, which quite honestly, I don't think a lot of people have insight into. And of course, when we covered the Michael Chambers case, we mentioned that Sheriff Meeks had talked about just do a Google search on Philip Klein. I kind of quickly mentioned in that video, I have done a Google search. I'm aware of the legal issues, which by the way, let me just be clear about those legal issues. The family that he's having trouble with, he thinks is involved in the disappearance of a very young boy. And I don't think that his belief is unfounded. As a matter of fact, there was another private investigator that was working with that family before him that gave up the case because he came to the same conclusion. So holding his feet to the fire over that particular case it's not very strong for me because I'm pretty familiar with that case. You'd probably have to hold my feet to the fire too, because I certainly think something very strange is going on with the family in that case as well. Outside of that, you know, there are websites that are compilations of, well, here's where we can tell Philip Klein lied, and here's where a family was upset, and we got another family that's upset. And I've looked into some of that information as well, and I can tell you, I think sometimes you're going to have families that aren't happy because they're not going to come out with the outcome that they expect. They're hiring someone to try to break this case open. If there was a perfect investigative procedure that could crack every single case, I'm sure that would be in use. But we know just by looking at law enforcement and their closure rates on their cases, that's a pipe dream. So to hold anyone to the expectation that you're going to be able to solve every single case, which I think is a component to people being angry with him at some point, I don't think that's a fair expectation to hold him to. We talk about on this channel all the time that particularly with missing persons cases and unsolved murders, there is a point where the family becomes frustrated with the investigation. If that's law enforcement or if it's a private investigator or whatever, there's a point where the family feels like, oh my God, maybe this thing isn't going to be cracked. Maybe these people aren't working hard enough. I think that applies to the private investigators as well. So are you going to find people complaining about him out there? Yes, absolutely. When you mix in a bit of a bold personality that rubs some people the wrong way in terms of his public image, that's going to amplify it quite a bit. As a matter of fact, at one previous point on the channel, I talked about the possibility of Philip and I working together on a case. I had people reach out to me directly, John, you can't do this, don't publicize him, blah, blah, blah. Look, if it's going to help a case, this is the same point I was making earlier, I'm going to at least try it. And that is what we have happening this week. I am literally going to be doing an interview with Philip Klein specifically about the Michael Chambers case. I know some of you out there aren't going to be happy about that, but to those people I ask, let's focus on actually helping that case and the information about that case. If Philip has some info that we can share here on the channel that might elicit tips in some way, I'm going to take that chance. Outside of that, maybe you will get the same insight that I got into when we were speaking about that previous case together. Maybe you will see a bit more about his investigation style, about the type of information that he's able to get. And I don't know, will it change your mind or not? I don't know. But I think we have to give it a chance. And that's where I'm at with it this week. I've really thought about it because I know that there was such a vocal uprising. It was a few people, but they were raising good points and they were, providing a lot of information. But I think for this interview that I'm doing, I'm trying to shift the focus. This is not a tool that is going to be promoting Philip Klein. This is a tool to help this investigation. He actually reached out to me in particular because he has information that he wants to share about that. So we're going to give it a shot, guys. That's all I can say. If it doesn't go great, it won't happen again. But if it's as compelling as the info that I've uncovered with him before, I think that you guys might get a bit of a different perception on Philip. Does it change how you feel about his public persona? I really don't think it will at all. I think that's kind of an unmovable force at this point. But can we help the Michael Chambers family? Can we help that case? I'm willing to take a shot. So that's what I'm going to do. That's it for Johnny Vlogs this week. Let me know your thoughts on that also in the comments below. I really appreciate having you guys out there, and I hope you recognize I'm trying to find the tools and do the best that I can in these cases to help move them forward. And if that means in a collaboration where some people might question it, I'm going to give it a shot. You know, we're going to see if it works. So take care, everyone. And tune in, buckle up. I think it's going to be a real interesting week. I'll see you back here tomorrow on the Lord and Arts channel.